tuned in to Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. Unicare, offering a variety of plans for people insured under the GIC. At Unicare, your health is their top priority. Reverie 73, Lowell's #1 cannabis shop. Elevate your cannabis experience at Reverie 73. Hafner's, heating and cooling homes and businesses for nearly a century. Become a part of the Hafner's family. It kicks. Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. And by Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the Inside Lowell studios here in beautiful, historic downtown Lowell, coming to you on a frigid December morning. We're actually recording this on Thursday, December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, as a matter of fact, out there. But I'll tell you what, the Lowell political climate is red hot. You think the earth is boiling over? The city of Lowell is boiling over. Lots to talk about, and for that, I'm excited to bring in a special guest to help me talk about it. He joined me many times throughout the years doing some radio, serious political discussions with a potentially lighthearted touch. And I figured we might need that a little bit for this particular show.
Not a lot of laughs happening in Lowell right now?
Not a lot of laughs. Asa Stutz, part of the Power Hour with Batch and the Stutz brothers, Asa and Han. Thanks so much for joining us here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
How are things with you? You just finished recording a Power Hour the other night where you kind of did your obligatory insanity. You started in Lowell and you ended up in
Myanmar jungles.
Yeah, Myanmar jungles.
Typical show.
Fighting with rebels. I don't know what the hell you were doing.
Say, a good show is either interesting, informative, or entertaining. It's easy to be informative. The other two are a little bit tricky at times. So I figure if we can get at least one of the three, maybe we'll get lucky with one of the other two. But I'm not sure how much people care about the jungles of Myanmar, but if you watch our show, you'll be informed.
You'll also care if you learn enough about it.
That's right.
You'll eventually start to care.
The rebels are going to win.
So check out the Power Hour from last Saturday and all of the Power Hours on our YouTube channel or our Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, wherever the hell you get your audio podcast from. But glad to have you here. We got a list of topics here. Where do you want to start? Should we start at the last city council meeting just a couple of nights ago?
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
All
just because there was kind of some drama going into it, and then there was plenty of drama during it.
Yeah, the big question was answered early. Will Councilor Corey Robinson participate? He participated via Zoom. The follow-up question to that is, how will it go over with his colleagues, and in particular, the 5 motions he had on the agenda? We quickly realized that every single one of those motions was going to be tabled, that there was no way that motion was going to be allowed to get a second, and there was no way it was going to be discussed on the council floor. What do you make of that as a strategy?
Ooh, I'm conflicted on that one, just because it's a unique situation. It is, for sure. So got to give some leeway to the counselors because they've never dealt with anything like this before. As a long-term strategy, I hate it. If it's a one-off, kind of to send a message, I hate it less, but I'm not sure. I think you got another council meeting coming up. You can't keep doing this. You got to have an actual strategy or an agreement, because you open Pandora's box when you start doing this. You
called it the Lowell's nuclear option, right?
I think so. I mean, we know about the Senate and what happened there, right? 2013, Harry Reid uses the nuclear option for some appellate court judges. 8 years later, Trump gets 3 Supreme Court nominees through. 9 years after that, from 2013 till now, Roe v. Wade is, I'm not saying there's anything at the local level to that extreme, but it just opened Pandora's box. If you do what they did last week and just table someone's motions, you could get a random MAGA guy that everyone hates in a liberal city that is elected by the people that just gets completely shut down because you kind of opened Pandora's box. I'm not going that extreme right now, but just to say you might need a better long-term strategy, not for Corey Robinson, just in general.
Yeah, there's a lot of different components to this, and it was interesting because there was a unanimous vote, 10-0, with even Councilor Robinson on Zoom voting to say, all right, the council needs to come up with some kind of rules for how to handle a situation like this in the future. How they are all handling this situation, boy, yeah. First, I've refrained from talking about it all too much because it's a difficult subject, and I would have hoped that by now, some cooler heads would have prevailed, and we'd be at a place where everybody understands the gravity of the situation, the seriousness of the charges, also the importance of, somebody shouldn't just give up their seat due to accusations, because sometimes it will be scurrilous accusations that come up.
Sure.
Right? But I have to tell you, as I look at it, I think the council has been somewhat measured and wise in how they did it. And the 5 who released the original statement, and it was step aside. And I remember seeing that, and I immediately, because it was sent to me by John Drinkwater, so I reached out to him, and I'm like, John, are you calling on him to step down, step aside, resign? It's not 100% clear based on the wording. He goes, oh, no, we don't want him to resign. We just think he should, step aside. That's why we worded it that way. We thought we were clear. We should have we should have been clear or whatever. But, we just, until this legal situation plays out, we thought it was in the best interest of the city for him to step aside. And then immediately afterwards, I get a statement from Sokari Chow, which stops short of even saying step aside. And then, Kim Scott sends hers, step aside. And I'm thinking, that's kind of a soft landing. I'm like, I could have easily seen Corey Robinson take that offer, right? Because, all right, so you disappear for a couple of meetings. It's the end of the year anyway, right? It's right. Thanksgiving, Christmas is coming. They're going to skip meetings left and right. Inauguration day could get a little tricky. He's got to show up for that, I think, or maybe he can get inaugurated by Zoom. But couple of months away, legal process plays out a little more. Now we have a few more facts. We have the
January 11th. There'll be a lot more clarity.
And then we kind of take it from there. I thought it was a soft landing that was offered to Councilor Robinson, and immediately he comes back, no, I ain't stepping aside. He's just immediately firing off radio comments and everywhere else he could to the Lowell Sun and to whoever. And it kind of forced the next phase of the situation, which was what we saw on the council floor, because at some point now, if he doesn't resign, he's got to show up.
Right.
And he did.
Yeah. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for doing that. My statement is more of the bigger picture, but sorry.
So, but now the situation has escalated, right?
Seems to be heading in the wrong direction.
Does it happen again? Do they table every single one of his motions? As long, till this is resolved.
Well, here's 2 scenarios I'll give to you right now. He had, was it 4 or 5 motions that were tabled last meeting. I don't know any of this. I've spoken to nobody, but I could see Eric Gitchier and Rita Mercier refiling those motions under their name. Mm-hmm. Say that happens. Do they get voted on and discussed and passed? And
I'm pretty sure they will.
Okay, right.
From what I can gather, it's because it's one of them filing them, and they're also important motions.
Yes.
But at some point, Corey Robinson's going to file another motion,
well, how about this? Scenario 2. Scenario 1, we both agree that it will be refiled under different councilors' names, and it'll take it as business as usual. What if all 5 of those motions are refiled with 3 names attached? Gitchier, Mercier, and Corey Robinson. What do you do then?
Ooh, I didn't even think of that scenario.
That's why I'm here. Now, you've got the 2 highest vote getters in your last election, and Councilor Robinson. And, you know, whatever the motions, well, we know what the motions are. They're typical city business. What happens then?
That's a good scenario. And maybe they didn't have that idea before, and now
That's big. I know. I mean,
the obvious thing is, Councilor Gitcher, Councilor Mercier files it. Somebody seconds it. They voted because those are all unanimous votes, right? Those are all 11-0 votes if you look at those motions. But now you attach Corey Robinson's name along with Councilor Gitcher.
You almost have to take 5 of them, do it 4 as the duel, and the 5th one as all 3, and just dip your toes in the water and see what the hell's happening here, because it's uncharted waters.
I like the way you think. You came up with a scenario that hadn't crossed my mind. But by the way, our most recent Inside Lowell poll question, go to InsideLowell.com and you scroll down about the midway point of the page. You can catch that poll question and all of our previous poll questions. But I wanted to pop it up on the screen here, show off that we have a little bit of technology as well. But put it up there on the website yesterday. Should city councilors continue avoiding Councilor Robinson's motions until his situation is resolved? Now, before I posted this, there was a little glitch in my polls that you could vote as many times as you want.
Oh, really?
And I'm pretty
like
sure
the old Lowell Sun polls?
I'm pretty sure people discovered it early on because, when Tom Golden, got an A as a grade, with about 90% of the people voting for him, like, somebody figured out you can vote more
Yeah, but
than
then
once.
Gilly found out and it went the other way.
Yeah, that's right. Then we went the other way. But so anyway, the cheap Greek paid the $15 for a more expensive poll service. And now we have, what's a little bit more of a realistic number out there, about 117 responses, and it's running 56% of the folks saying, yeah, the city council should just continue tabling everything he does until, he either steps aside, resigns, whatever the legal situation plays out. And of course, about 44% of the people think that no, they can't keep doing this. I would assume they either support Councilor Robinson outright and think all of this is unfair, or they've got your kind of mindset like, this is dangerous territory we're heading.
Bigger picture. That's interesting. I wonder if the Corey Robinson hardcore supporters, there are many, but they are definitely in the minority, are they going to take that number as that's where we're at and kind of lump in the people that look at the parliamentarian aspect of it and think this isn't about an opinion on Corey Robinson, it's about the function of government. So I kind of know where I'm going with that. Say it was just a clean Corey Robinson essential question. Who knows what it is, 80-20. There you've got 55-45 essentially. Not sure.
Yeah, we'll see. As I assume those poll numbers the number of respondents will increase, and we'll see. And again, it's not a scientific study.
No, but it's interesting.
But it is
it's
kind
people
of
reading your page, people interested in Lowell politics, people that understand the situation. So
I would assume they're well versed in this.
Oh yeah, only smart people around here
in one way or another. The part I'm curious about, and I've been having some back and forth with one of Councilor Robinson's supporters, and before Tuesday night, it was like, I was asked, in what universe does Councilor Robinson get vindicated here if it turns out that these charges are not true and that whatnot? And I thought that's a good question because believe me, people get accused. Look at Brett Kavanaugh, right? Look at Clarence Thomas.
Fair question.
And we've seen Duke LaCrosse, Virginia rape hoax. We've seen cases where the allegations are levied, the world runs with them, and those people are forever tarnished. And the old saying, okay, like, where do I go to get my reputation back now? Yep. And I thought about, how does this work where Councilor Robinson is not tarnished politically long term? The only thing I think of, he really kind of needs a full-fledged trial where facts come out that are indisputable that he's
even that wouldn't work, and that which stinks for him. If he's innocent, I don't think there's anything that can fully clear it, just because this isn't a typical he said, she said. This is a he said, and then what the Drake police are saying. It's their judgment call. So even if the victim or alleged victim were to come out in court and say, hey, I was, whatever, he was defending himself. It was actually me, whatever she said, the prosecutor and the Drake police would still stand by their story and try to prosecute. So it's always there. It's right. So if he's innocent, that is
right. That's the check. If he's innocent,
it's impossible to go.
He can get never his reputation back unless she cooperates. The facts play out, and for whatever reason, they play out in a manner that he kind of got.
I don't think he ever
railroaded.
Even if he got railroaded, I don't think he ever gets back to square one unless there's random cameras in the house. That's the only way.
I'd like to think as a society he could be forgiven, but you're probably right.
I think there are certain
political enemies who will not look past that.
For sure, most people would, and then you have the political angle. He's more of a conservative Lowell guy, so those people are going to use it no matter what. And then you have a lot of people that just read headlines and they see the charges and they see the controversy, but they don't see how it played out. So it's if he's innocent, it's a raw deal. Yeah. But again, it's the Drake police are saying this, so the two sides debating it.
Right.
It seems that his defenders are getting mad, and then if they think he's innocent, I understand that, but I think they also need to take a step back and say, look at the big picture.
Hold that thought for about 35 seconds.
Okay. Because
I do want to talk about that, because I think his defenders are hurting him terribly and he is getting bad advice. But I'll put that aside for a minute. But from that conversation, how does he go to get his reputation back, right? Tuesday night, right in the midst of, I don't know if it was the third motion or the fourth motion that was tabled and whatnot, the text came and it said to me, he goes, how do you come back from this? And that too was an interesting question, because it made me start wondering, have we crossed the Rubicon now from step aside? Is that even still an option after the ensuing week and a half? Because the ladies who got up there, and there were some men as well, who got up there dressed in black, rallying around Deb Belanger's very fiery speech. Deb's speech was not step aside. Deb's speech was resign. It was an emphatic resign, and everybody there resigned. And what was striking to me is this wasn't one of Corey Robinson's political enemies going after.
These aren't
he's been hitting us hard for 2 years. Here's our chance.
Not the usual suspects.
This isn't the Sun saying, yeah, you want to call us a rag? Here's what a rag can do when it's doing investigative journalism, right? This was Deb Belanger. I know Deb Belanger liked Corey Robinson and supported him as a candidate. I saw a renowned Centerville, a well-known Centerville resident out there who's well-known in the city. I don't want to throw the name out, but it struck me like, the Robinson camp was very big on his billboard 2 years ago. Remember that, the billboard battle? Yeah. He and Gignac were on one side. Gignac was on one side, business suit. It was just him, the professional shot. The other side was Corey, surrounded by people, all sorts of different looking people. Well, one of those people on that billboard that the Robinson camp was very proud of was standing next to Deb Belanger and applauding and nodding at the words resign.
It's not the usual suspect. This is different.
He's suffered some damage here. And I'm starting to wonder if another episode, if next Tuesday's meeting goes like that one and everything is tabled and another wave of protesters and somebody else makes a speech, has step aside now disappeared as an option? Has it stepped aside as an option to be replaced by step down or resign?
Yeah, I don't know. And again, it would have to be, obviously, it would have to be the other counselors that make that decision. None of them have publicly said that. I wonder, step aside is essentially paid leave. Let's just say that was it, right? Is that what would happen with a typical city employee?
I would think so. That's how I assumed it.
I would think so,
paid leave, why not? And again,
if they say you're
you don't block them from the inauguration in January.
That works the DPW. This happens. I'm innocent. Paid leave until. Yeah, you're right. It's only less than about a month away, a little more. It seems like a pretty fair compromise just to get to that point where everyone can kind of catch their breath. It gives the council some time to forget about the Corey Robinson situation. There are certain things that needed to be in place before this, and they just keep punting it. And you got to figure it out. What happens when a district rep has to step down or retires or dies or whatever happens? What happens with an at-large? You have to have these things in place. It's actually shocking that it wasn't part of the original charter switch. It should be like pretty early on. This is how it works. This is how it works.
A bunch of us on radio were calling for that to be resolved, were we not?
But even that's more than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
pretty much.
I don't know. So you gotta, I feel like Lowell might need an outsider, just a parliamentarian. Doesn't know anybody. Lowell is a city, 110,000 people, which is it's a city. But when you get to the Lowell political scene, 7,500 people voted. And when you get deep into the political bubble, it's about 1,000. It's a small world. It just is. Everyone either knows Corey or is involved and likes him or dislikes him. There's always a personal opinion. You almost got to bring someone in from the outside and say, black and white, here's what happened on paper. What can we do here? You know what I mean? It's like,
but you're not calling for the dreaded outside firm.
No, and I'm saying
an outside law firm. And we'll give them an unlimited budget. I've heard this before.
Just one random person that is a nerd that likes the Constitution and government that can be like, what is a good idea in this scenario? You have no opinion of the person or the situation. What is a good way for? It could be anyone. Ryan Gilday. There you go. I nominate him. He's the neutral arbiter. He likes government, right?
He's been trying to kind of walk that line.
Well, good.
Election
He's nominated. It's just
analysis.
Forget about the scenario.
I was thinking, is Panji the guy?
There you go.
The one guy that everybody can kind of say, he's got a cool head, or does the moment he step into the fray, depending on what he decides, he gets attacked as.
Yeah, I just kind of wish both sides would take a step back, take a deep breath. Because there is trouble all around you. There are, if you're the Corey supporters, and it's fine, he's your friend or your colleague, and you think he's innocent, in their defense, it's a lot harder in this scenario to think someone's innocent than guilty. It just is. It's kind of natural stance that you read the Lowell Sun version of the police report where they put in there. You read that, and I would say, if you don't know Corey, well, 95% of the people will just roll with it. It's a lot harder to have these debates defending him and thinking he's innocent. So I give them some leeway there.
Which is why you probably, even if you think you want to defend him, even though there were times along the way where I kind of wanted to, say, hey, it is plausible that he will win in court. Now's not the time to say. I think that and this is where I think his supporters and, largely him, maybe they're drawing their cue from him, or maybe he's drawing his cues from somebody else who's got his ear. This has been horribly bungled from a PR standpoint. The step aside, I listened to Ryan Johnson the last 2 days, who I think is very measured, the afternoon host on CAP, very, very measured in his local political opinions. Nationally, you can fly off the deep end from time to time. But locally, I've always found it to be very measured, and he makes me step back and think about what I'm saying and thinking and whether it's good. He's saying, the shut up thing is good. Just stop talking. Remember in Anchorman, Ron Burgundy says to Champ, you might want to take a couple of plays off, Champ. Corey Robinson, I think you need to stop talking, because the more you do, you're showing an illogical side, which all played out Saturday night, ironically, just as you were about to hit the record button on your Power Hour with your brother Han and Batch, and that was the news story from the Lowell Sun with the call from Congresswoman Trahan for Corey Robinson to step down, and Corey Robinson's denial, like, hey, she's got my number, why doesn't she talk to me herself? And then divulge, which I thought was kind of, better off not to comment. There's a political way to say, right? I appreciate the Congresswoman's concern, but I can assure her I am innocent.
Right.
And at the end of the day, this will be proven to her and everybody else, right? To basically then kind of bring the mayor's wife into it, under the insinuation that a United States congresswoman who could probably piss all over the Lowell City Council and not get a drop on herself. I mean, she's at a stature up here, right? Versus the Lowell City Council. Let's be honest, they're the same people we run into in the supermarkets, bars, and wherever else in the city. Right. They're not all that lofty, right? She's going to get involved in this political battle. Why? Because she's trying to settle a grudge against... Do we have any indication she had a grudge against him?
No, it just...
Do we have any indication Samong, the mayor's wife, had a grudge against him? Do we even have an indication that the mayor's... Because you notice Corey Robinson changed his statement. What he sent to me and what he sent to the Lowell Sun was not what he ended up, what's on his Facebook page right now. What's on his Facebook page does not mention the mayor's wife. It says there's a connection from the mayor's office to...
well, that's
to this situation.
Better,
and it's specific, but it left the wife out, an indication like, dude, what are we? Somebody must have said, "What are you doing here? You're attacking two women as you're trying to defend yourself." Right. And I guess they're different, you know, a verbal, political attack versus an alleged domestic attack is totally different. But perhaps the best way is not fighting back against every woman in the city who says something about you. In this case, just let them have their say.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, hey, listen, this is new age world of Trump politics, right?
And I admire it to a degree. You're right.
To push back against the congresswoman is perfectly fine. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, doesn't matter. But either way, someone comes out against you, you defend yourself, it's fine. But that statement, the part with the mayor's wife, just completely out of place. It was really crowbarred in there. And it kind of insinuated that it had something to do with Sakari's next election, where he's running for Register of Deeds. But it just kind of made the whole thing strange. Not great.
It was a bungle. And again, I think at the very least, Councilor Robinson should just stop talking. He's going to have his day in court January 10th, January 11th, and then beyond that, which is great. You know, it may not. If he's innocent, it's not fair to him. Right? But for an elected official, it's the best course of action. Quite frankly, I'm shocked his attorney is allowing this to,
and again, that
go on.
Reading it kind of live as it happens, it said it came through his attorney, did it not?
Yeah, but I got the text from Councilor Robinson.
Okay.
I don't know where Melanie Gilbert and the Sun got it from. The Facebook page... It was released on his Facebook page with his, logos and whatever, and then it said that released through
the Sun's story said
Sullivan.
The same as yours, released through Attorney Sullivan.
Yeah.
So
because that's what the statement that was sent to us, but it was not sent to me by Ryan Sullivan.
Gotcha.
It was sent to me by Corey Robinson. So
again, I'll put him in with everyone else and everything. There's sort of two sides essentially. Everyone take a step back, deep breath. If you're a Corey defender, just hold off. We have the hearing coming up on the 11th. And if you're a counselor or people making rules that could have precedent set that comes back to bite the city 7-10 years from now, don't do that. Just think things through. Calm down. That's my advice.
Will they listen?
No.
We'll find out. We'll find out Tuesday, December 12th at the next council meeting. There has been other political news, by the way. Actually, since we got a new toy here, our poll question, of course, it won't update because I haven't refreshed the page. But you can go to InsideLowell.com and scroll down halfway through the page on the home page on the right. You'll see our poll questions. This our most recent poll question posted just yesterday. Should city councilors continue avoiding Councilor Robinson's motions until his situation is resolved? You see right now about 56-44 is the...
You want the truth?
Is the breakdown right now.
I voted no.
You voted no on that?
I did. And again, it's not because I know Corey Robinson. I'm friendly with him. I'm not friends. I don't have his phone number. But whenever I see him and say hello, I get along pleasantly with him. I think he's a very good city councilor. I think he's done a good job. This is a whole another separate world, and I understand why the councilors are doing that. My concern is, like I've said, the bigger picture. So I voted no. It's not a defiant defense of Corey Robinson. It's just people need to look at the bigger picture.
Did you just vote no now? Because there's another,
no, I did yesterday.
There's another no vote there that popped up.
Oh, no.
And nobody has seen our podcast.
Right.
So there are people reading the story, going to the poll question and whatnot. But there is also a lot of other things happening, in Lowell. I got to remember my English. My grammar, very important, especially as somebody who talks.
I know Dennis Candy's number.
Yeah, well, I got to bring Dennis in one of these times. Have a throwback Lowell High day.
Please do it. Come on.
The big political battle before that. Who's going to be the next mayor? Boy, that seemed like small potatoes since on November 15th. But we did get some major news on that again, we reported on InsideLowell.com just a couple of days ago. And that was that Vesna Noon, the only other officially declared candidate for mayor, who also had another vote officially declared for him in Wayne Jeunesse for mayor, has said he is no longer interested in pursuing the office. And basically, I'm going to paraphrase the statement here, but in the interest of a unified council going forward to get to the important work that the city faces, and maybe left unsaid is to move past this whole scenario here. I am no longer going to pursue this. I'm going to throw my support behind Danny Rourke. And there's vote number 7. And then minutes later, when I reached out to Wayne Jeunesse, I'm like, Wayne, what does this do? He's like, yes, I'm also supporting Danny Rourke as well. So there's 8 votes for Danny Rourke. Best we know, the Rita Mercier has 1 vote, Corey Robinson. But to this moment, Rita Mercier has not said to me, I want to be mayor. She certainly hasn't said who I'm voting for.
She said nothing whatsoever on the matter.
No,
right?
not since election day, or actually not even since the week before the election when I first reached out to her. Eric Gitcher has not declared either, but one way or the other, we know that Dan Rourke has 8 votes here, and barring any another alleged incident.
Can I bet on that?
Don't know. No, please don't. One thing at a time. But I do want to take a moment. I want to commend both Councilors Noon and Jeunesse for doing that, for recognizing that there would always be that question, right? Is somebody going to turn on Dan Rourke? We've seen it happen in the past.
Oh, yeah, no. When you have now you've got to get to 6, correct?
Yes.
Before it was 5.
Yep.
When you have 6 exactly, like, think about it. This was all happened before the Corey Robinson story broke. So, and I think there are still things that can happen in the next month. Doesn't mean, I'm just saying, if you were at 6, right at the line, that's dangerous. When you're at 8, 9, you're in real good shape.
Yeah. So, and that's where we are. We're at least at 8, and who knows? I mean, Rita Mercier, for all we know, could vote for Danny Rourke. Is Corey Robinson going to vote? Is what Eric Gitcher does? That's beyond my pay grade. But I think it's clear at this point that Danny Rourke will hold the gavel at that first meeting after they're all sworn in, be the next mayor of Lowell. Again, kudos to I know behind the scenes, I think Wayne Jeunesse did a lot of pushing of Vesna Noon on this to kind of say, it's like, I'm with you, I support you. I did last time as well, but we got to read the room a little bit here. And to Vesna Noon's credit, because this is something he badly wants. I actually feel bad for the guy. I felt bad for him.
It seemed less painful though than last time. Last time was the one.
The last time I thought
the historical moment,
the inevitability. And then again he's going to get bypassed this time. Maybe this is the beginning of his, PR campaign for 2025.
Well, it's a great start.
And to say, okay, listen, I've shown that I can do the unity thing. Let's get a shot at this? Because it's something he really wants. And I believe he should get. I believe every councilor who serves long enough in that capacity should have a chance to become mayor, as long as we're doing it through this kind of round robin. The council votes on them.
And John Leahy should get a do-over.
For Cole?
Yes. He got ripped off. He really got robbed. He was mayor. He wasn't able to kiss one baby or shake one hand. He got ripped off. He gets back in the cycle. Not before Vesna, but at some point, if John Leahy wants to be mayor again, he should be able to skip the line a little bit.
He wasn't kissing babies through the masks? He had that nice. He was the first guy to show up with that nice City of Lowell mask, the seal right on the front there.
No, he deserves a do-over if he wants it.
Oh, okay. So
but yes, don't let me derail you.
So no more.
You're right though, Vesna. That's a different Vesna than it was 2 years ago.
Right?
I mean, 2 years ago, you had protests on the City Hall.
About this time, right? There was the famous rally at City Hall with the pledge to get 2 candidates out there. And you know, and maybe, you know, he learned something from the election results this time, you know, the very low turnout. He went from topping the ticket to 3rd. And, you know, close enough to Cory Belanger where there were some nervous moments. On election night, right? You did a wonderful job on your whiteboard, which we have finally erased after Batch decided to put a little artwork up there Saturday.
Oh,
thank God I get to that in time.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I'll fill you in later.
You're right.
But, you know, instead of, you know, people, you know, mounting challenges and we're going to get every single one of you that voted against Vesna Noon, that didn't work out well, and you know, perhaps this is the beginning of his new PR strategy going forward. As I said, I'd certainly like to see him get an opportunity at some point. He's earned it. He
absolutely earned it. He had earned it last time. Sakari did kind of jump him, but hey, that's politics. If you get that invested in other district races, there's going to be some blowback if you lose, and that's what happened. But in a general sense, he's earned it more than anybody right now. I mean, him and Danny, I think they probably got about equal amount of service time in the council. They both had moments where they got voted out, came back. I assume they're really close. They're either exactly tied, or maybe there's one more cycle for Vesna.
I think their voted out year was
different years,
but I think they
just a 2-year gap.
Exact same length of service. So
and you know what? Bigger picture too for Vesna, if he wants to run for higher office at some point. He does seem to be a different politician the last even 2 years. I like this Lowell City Council for the last 2 years. I like the new one. I mean, I like Dakota. Like, it just seems to be one of the more conservative city councils you've ever seen. Think about it. We've had the discussion once a couple weeks ago in the Power Hour, but if you go name by name, which we don't have to do now, but this council that's about to get sworn in is probably the most conservative council we've had in the last 20 years.
By the way, thanks for mentioning Johnny Dakota. He's been able to kind of stay in the stay aside in this battle. Come Inauguration Day, you know the very first thing he's going to be asked by the media, what should happen with Cory Robinson? You know that's coming. So, John, if you're listening, you've got a few more.
Sorry,
but you better come up with a statement because you know it's coming, my friend. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
So, quickly on Sakari Chow. He's going to run for Register of Deeds. Karen Casella, the other declared candidate, another Lowell resident. There will be others. If you look at the field, the last time that seat was open, and I know they're always open, but let's be honest, running against an incumbent is not exactly an open
It's a random position. Like, I mean, it just brings in people I wouldn't expect. Sakari, looking back at it now and his history, it makes sense, but I didn't see that coming. Maybe other people did.
So the field the last time, though, Richard Howe won that race, but, you know, you had Karen Theodoris, Karen Zaroulis, Freddie Simon. You had Ed Kennedy.
Yeah.
You had Patty Kerwin, who's now chief of staff for Ed Kennedy. You had was Bill Martin on the list? There's a couple of other big names on that list, mostly Lowell-centric, but there were, you know, Simon and Zaroulis were the Tewksbury candidates. So do Sakari and Karen Casella split the race enough if there's 5 or 6 candidates in where somebody from a Tewksbury or Drake can sneak into that seat? Because we always talk about the Lowell candidates and the world revolves around Lowell, but is there a chance that seat doesn't go home in Lowell at night?
It's not a seat in a race that I know well at all. I know Sakari is a big name and he's the mayor, and I'm sure he's technically the favorite going into this, but I don't know how it all plays out with the different towns and all that, so I'd be lying if I gave a strong opinion.
All right, can you give a strong opinion on this? Should Sakari Chow, if he wins that seat, complete his term on the council, as appears to be the plan, or should he step down in January of 2025 when he's sworn in and let the last 11 months of that seat ride out?
I think he should step down. And I like Sakari, and I think he does a good job. I think he was a good mayor, but I thought Ed Kennedy at the time should have stepped down. So to be consistent, I think Sakari should probably do the same.
I like that. I like consistency. Okay, so
bigger picture, yeah. That's the theme of the day.
If he takes your sage advice and steps down,
this isn't advice. This is just an opinion. I give no advice to anybody. I'm an idiot. I know that.
He's already getting shots for things I don't think he's involved with. But who should replace him? Justin Ford as the second place finisher?
I guess it would have to be.
Special election, or just leave the damn seat vacant for 9 months and don't waste.
Well, you know what?
Our funds.
Like we've discussed with the Corey Robinson situation, you need to have these plans in place. So hopefully by then there will be a plan in place. And so let's just say.
So what's that plan? This is going to get decided. Finally, this is going to get decided. Should it be second place finisher, or in a head-to-head race, should it follow the state rep rules?
I think it should definitely be second place finisher.
Do you?
Yes, and I think that would help bring out better candidates. So let's just say something happens with Corey and he has to step down. You're going to have Marty Hogan as a city councilor, and Sakari wins. You'll have Justin Ford as a councilor. Both got blown out in their races. But to any potential candidates, that's kind of a little bit of a caveat to say, oh, right, I could run and lose, but still be in position. You know, before when you have 9 at-large councilors, the 10th was a nice spot to be in. It stinks that you lost, but you're right there and things go wrong. Yep. It kind of puts you in that position in a district race, and maybe you get a better field of candidates that way.
I think that is a horrible follow-up, and I'll tell you why.
Go on.
At large, you had 6 candidates.
Yep.
The voters' preference was clearly Eric Gitchier, Rita Mercier, Vesna Noon in that order. Next was Corey Belanger. Next was Bobby Tubielli, and then Virat Goy.
Sure.
Somebody steps aside for whatever reason, gets hit by. I don't wish they get hit by a bus.
Yeah, why are you going to that? That's a dark place to go.
I don't know.
They win the lottery.
They win the lottery and say, the hell with this. Makes sense. The will of the people was that Corey Belanger was the next highest finisher. Is it really the will of the people for Marty Hogan to step into that seat? It was of what, 200 people, 150 people? What was the final vote total? Same with Justin Ford. But what if Rodney Elliott? What if Rodney Elliott ends up becoming city manager? Let's say Rodney, for whatever reason, Tom Golden says, you know, I'm sick of these idiots. I'm done. Rodney Elliott becomes city manager. And I know he can't, but hear me out for a second.
Yeah.
Who does Carla Miller get the seat in the State House? She was a second place finisher. She got more votes than anybody else that November.
Yeah, that's
Does it go to Carla Miller? Does it go to Zoe Zaniku, because she was in the Democratic primary and she got more votes than... Do you see where I'm going with this now?
But how's this? Go back to...
You know, let's say...
Go back to 2021, the Centerville race. Corey Robinson, Marty Hogan, and who came in second that time?
Gignac.
Sorry, Gignac. Apologize. So there were 3 or 4 candidates at the time, were there not? The people in that neighborhood said these 2 are chosen out of this field of 3 or 4 people at the time. He was clearly the second choice, Gignac. Would you argue with that in that scenario? There was a primary?
Yes. Yep.
2 advanced?
Because I think you have to treat these like state rep elections or state senate elections. I don't think you can keep going to the second place finisher.
What about the most basic sense of...
Because there will be times where there isn't a second place finisher. So you better have a mechanism anyway.
Right, for sure.
And we have that right now. Dan Rourke and John Leahy, there is no second place finisher. Yep. So you're going to have to create a mechanism anyway.
Sure. And you're going to
make that the mechanism.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm
totally
for
fine.
all those
I'm totally fine
races,
with that.
Right? Otherwise, we've got 5 different ways of, you know, if it's at large, it's number 4. If it's district running unopposed, then we... combined school committee and city council vote selects him.
Yeah. We know why people don't run, but you look at the Sakari race, him and Justin Ford, there's only 2 people in the entire neighborhood that were brave enough to put their name on the ballot. If one can't do the job, it seems rational to let the other one do it, but you're right.
And the precedent has been set. Your way of doing it, I think it was a horrible precedent to set, but just 2 months in, Andy Dakota had to step down for medical reasons. Who got the spot?
Sure.
Susie Chun, second place finisher in that race.
Yeah.
Now, the elections director, Greg Pappas, is adamant that his what happened was not proper and would not end up if it was valid. Yeah, he's adamant about that. I think he's told the counselors.
He came in after that.
He came in afterwards. Okay. Yeah, he's I think if
was that Elliot?
Elliot Veloso.
Was he temporary at the time?
Yes, he was the temporary. And Greg does know a thing or two about elections, having worked for 3 decades for Bill Galvin's
I suppose.
And, to me, it just makes more sense. Of course, if I'm Justin Ford, or more urgently, if I'm Marty Hogan, I'm like, hey, is Susie Chun served? It's like, I'm serving.
Sure.
And do you get a legal battle because of it? Are you changing the rules on the fly?
It goes back to the way we started this show. It's like there are certain things you have to figure out, and you got to do it now before you make mistakes. Technically, let's just say that was illegal. That could have been an issue for the city. I guess what we're saying is Ryan Gilday's got a lot of work to do here. He's got to sort this all out.
Thank God we have the Lowell Citizen. You got to read his stuff, by the way. InsideLowell.com. The Lowell Citizen does his council recaps. Fantastic. He's kind of like Asa. He's able to put
He's a smart version of me.
He has a legal mind.
There you go.
He's able to put a funny twist on it. In Conference Center. They were supposed to be here December 1st. We reported last week they're not coming December 1st. I had been told before Christmas. I'm hearing now there are rumors, and the city manager kind of said this as well at the council meeting, that next week is the start move-in date. They're going to come in waves. Also hearing people say what I've been trying to tell people. It's talking about close to 1,000 people. That's when all is said and done.
Yeah. In my mind, it would be 200, but that was like, no, 200 rooms.
Family of 4, 200 rooms. Do the math. There's 800. It's not just 2 kids per family in some of these situations. It's a lot of people. So they should be coming on in. How ironic that just the other day, Lori Trahan, Elizabeth Warren, and Ed Markey are calling on the Biden administration, or Secretary Mayorkas, because got criticizing the president, who could actually tell his, Homeland Secretary to, cut the crap, or whoever they're telling, like, we need money. What, did this just pop up? Did this crisis, the state of emergency, just pop up? I recall Maura Healey declared this in early September, right?
Yes.
I recall we reported it in August. Yes. What the bleep have they been doing? And I had this conversation with somebody the other day who said, we sometimes assume the people running things, and he was talking specifically about the Healey administration.
Yep.
We sometimes assume the people running things actually know what they're doing. Can we now acknowledge that Maura Healey does not know what she's doing? She has no clue. She's in a bad situation. She got herself into a bad situation, and she has no way to solve it, because she's not going to do the smart thing, which is say no more right to shelter for anybody who's not a Massachusetts resident or citizen already. And the other thing is to tell Joe Biden no more. They're not coming here. They're coming into Logan Airport and sleeping there. We're shipping them right back out. We don't care where. You're not coming here, right? Which some governors have finally started saying.
Yes.
Then, of course, they're the other party from the president of the United States. And the other thing, it's clear Joe Biden hasn't figured out how to solve this, because he knows there's hundreds of thousands of people poured across that border
every month.
Yeah. And he hasn't figured out, if I'm asking these states to take them in, I should give them some money, right?
Like huge amounts of money.
So does anybody know what they're doing in this crisis? Dare I say you and I could do a better job handling it?
Sure, for sure. I would just bribe people. I would legitimately, okay, there's 800 people coming to Lowell. I'm going to give you all a bus ticket or a plane ticket anywhere you want in the world, and I'm going to give you $1,000 cash, which would work, but it doesn't matter because 800 different people would come. I think 12,000 people crossed the border yesterday. 12,000.
I think I saw the report. The largest single day of border crossing.
One day. So it's like, this has obviously been going on for years, but it's been accelerated. And it's now being encouraged. Hitting all the blue states.
Let's not lie.
Everyone realizes it, and we're peaking. Like, it should be stopping. The good news, I guess, big picture, is that the Republicans are going to use the Ukraine funding as a weapon to stop this. I'm not going to get sucked in. But
we're going to use that whiteboard before we're done.
There'll be no board. But they've packaged the two together, Republicans. They say, hey, you want money for Ukraine, whatever it is, $60 billion, you have to have a legit border policy. And the Biden team knows it. They know that there's nothing they can do, and they're going to cave in. So there will be an immigration law or some sort of plan passed just because they know they need the Ukraine money that badly. Which is insane that we have to do that to get to there. If you gave me the choice, obviously I would seal the border first before Ukraine, even though I'm the most pro-Ukraine person you've ever met. But you've got to.
The most, at the top of the list. Other than Vladimir Zelensky, you are the most pro-send money to Ukraine person on the planet.
People, not Zelensky. People.
We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I was gonna ask.
Just remember, when it happens, it's gonna be a big story. Come to Inside Lowell. I'm sure you'll have stories and pictures and everything. But just know that the way it's gone down in other cities where these buses of migrants come in, it always happens the day before you think it is. So if they say, hey, the migrants are coming next Thursday, it's gonna be Thursday at 12:01, midnight, buses in the cover of darkness, everyone's in, the media shows up, and it's already done. So
you know what?
Just keep that in mind, Mr. Media Man.
Well, you know what I've been watching for?
What?
Does the UMass Lowell logo come off that building? The signage come down.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still going to technically own it, but do they really want that logo on that building?
There are such deep, I mean, we're not going to do it today, but there's such deeper questions.
You know, the Days Inn sign
I worked in that hotel. I loved working there.
At the Days Inn?
No, at the DoubleTree and whatever it was before. Bel Gusto's restaurant.
Go, Bel Gusto.
I used to do room service.
Gabriela Gusto.
When I was 17, I did rooms. It's my favorite job I've had. I loved it. But it's a hotel room. If you have a family of 4 with 2 beds and a bathroom, how do you eat? How do you just randomly make rice? Or maybe that would be simple with a rice pot, but just live in life.
You light fires on the floor of it being done in other hotels.
And again, okay, now they're all going down.
I'm not joking, by the way, folks. There's been multiple that have burned in the other hotels because you've got cultural things, you've got desperate things, you've got people who are kind of desperate to have a normal life. They thought they were coming here. You know, a lot of them were sold a bill of goods that they're coming here to the land of freedom. Jesus Christ, I'm locked in a 300 square foot room.
Marriott in Chicago.
Yeah, it's you know, in downtown Lowell, where's the park they're going to go play at? Where are these kids going to go? Where the family's going to go walk their kids for?
Right. Now, there's so many unanswered questions. Just start with the basics. Food. Is it just nonstop buffet down in the restaurant? Is there dining hours? How do you feed 800 people 3 meals a day? Who feeds them? Who works there? Who's the receptionist? Like, there's a lot of, who's the waitstaff? You can get a lot of tips. Is the state of Massachusetts going to give you tips?
You're asking questions that should have been thought about in August.
These are lower on the grand scale, but now when they're coming, it's like, okay, now there's a lot of questions, and we're missing 100 of them, but just start with the most basic.
And to my understanding, very few of them are answered. Just so you know, very few of these questions. And that is why they didn't come in December 1st, because some of these details have not been worked out yet. All right, we're going to pause it there. I was going to get into the state of the city with you, but we'll save that for your next visit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's up in the air.
All right, now we got to come up with a name for our show. Like, we got the Pod Squad.
This is an official show.
But we should do this. We used to do it like on a monthly basis on the radio station. So we need the best I can come up with is the TNA show, Teddy and Asa.
Oh, saying that title could get some clicks on YouTube.
It could definitely get some clicks. Could also get our YouTube channel taken down. But we need to brand this now, okay? Especially for the podcast channels. That's your homework assignment.
Name the show.
All right.
Okay,
name the show and watch for Tuesday night's city council meeting. Will the situation de-escalate? Will cooler heads prevail, wiser heads prevail, or will the nuclear option again be used with a variation? I love your variation, by the way, that the motions get refiled with 3 councilors' names on them.
Or
not just
we'll see. It could be worse. And again, if the protesters say, hey, there was 50 of them there, which is a lot for a Lowell City Council protest, like the bike coalition would bring, what, 15 people, and they made a ton of news and headlines. There'd be more, but there was traffic coming out of Cambridge that day. But you bring 50 people. What if you bring 100 next time? You know, it's not great. Nothing's been settled, and it's coming up pretty quickly. I don't know. Unfortunately, it's for a bad reason, but it's must-watch TV.
It most certainly is. And by the way, tip for folks out there, LTC continues to have like issues with the stream. It freezes, it crashes. I accidentally discovered a couple of weeks ago the YouTube. Lowell Telemedia has a YouTube channel, and I watched it the last couple of meetings that I've watched.
It's great.
Completely uninterrupted.
You can rewind it, too.
Yeah, exactly. Now I might have ruined it for me because I might have driven so many people to it that it crashes. But I think YouTube might have a little better bandwidth than even LTC. Just my thought. Asa Stutz, thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. Thank you for joining us, and thank all of you for joining us here in another Inside Lowell podcast. This one heavy on the political sphere, but there has been an awful lot going on. I thought it was about time that I kind of chimed in on stuff and had some of our others chime in on. Who knows? Maybe we'll even have a podcast. Pod Squad podcast about this in the coming days and weeks. Till next time, everybody stay safe, stay warm, and remember that inside Lowell, if Lowell is your home, this is your place.